and we will be going live in 5, 4, 3, 2. We're live.
Good morning, Owasso. This is the Twins with Owasso Live, and this is the Morning Loop. This is us playing catch-up. Again, we were at drill all this weekend, so we've been out of the loop since Friday. So we are catching up. We go radio silent. We're not allowed to have our phones with us. We're at the mercy of Cadra whenever we're in training. So coming back, we learned a couple things. Why don't you let's start with that video of former President Donald Trump. And I guess what's going on is around the world, the Pro Palestine stuff is still just
a hotbed.
It's a hot ticket. But, we had that, everyday kids start fighting back. You had those frat boys at UNC go up and hold up the flag. So that's why it was relevant. Because I'm sick of reporting on Palestine and these pro-Palestine protesters, because I don't think any of it's real. It's all fake. It's all astroturfed. None of these people are genuine. I think a lot of them are paid agitators. In fact, Donald Trump said the exact same thing, and the media attacked him for it. So why don't you play this video, and then we find out that apparently there are paid agitators, paid political activists being at these universities. So whenever you're ready, Chad, just...
Desktop audio's on. I'm playing now.
Excellent.
Where do these people come from? Where do they come from? And they do come from other countries, and they are paid.
I should note that we have not seen any evidence that protesters are being paid to be on these campuses.
New York City Mayor Eric Adams said today that the NYPD has been able to gather intelligence that some of the people on Columbia's campus, in the Hamilton building, for example, were not students, but actually professional agitators.
And see that right there? That right there is exactly.
That is it. Said they are proof that they are paid agitators.
So there you go. The media is so quick to just say, oh, he's a liar. We're not going to do any investigative journalism and see. And then the police go in and arrest all these people that broke into Columbia, that building in Columbia. Turns out a lot of them are. So you can imagine that this is happening all over the United States. These paid actors, in fact, most of them go to the different rallies at different times. Like we were talking about that one lady who was at Columbia and got arrested. She was in Spain the week before, teaching people how to do protests.
Mm-hmm.
So these people make careers off of this. And if you think that this is grassroots, everyone's I remember, again, I was talking about a buddy of mine who posted a video about how we need to support these grassroots efforts for supporting Palestine. And there's nothing grassroots about any of this. That you have that picture or that tweet by Tim Young, right? Pulled up.
Yes, I do. So I've got it right here.
Okay, yeah. Pull that tweet up by Tim Young and look at this. What does that say, Chad? What does his tweet say?
Says here, let me transition to the big screen here. Says here, Tim Young, who's paying for the signs, who's printing them, should lead you right to the source of the protest. And as you can see, if you are watching, there's literally a picture of hundreds of signs, hundreds of signs right here that all say ceasefire now with a Palestinian flag on it. And then there's other ones that say something else like free Palestine. And there's hundreds of them all together, which means that this was done professionally.
Somebody planned this months out in advance.
Mm-hmm.
This is not grassroots. None of this is grassroots. Again, we've talked about this already. Crowder talked about this. Qatari money is funding these pro-Islamic extremist organizations here in the U.S., and they're funneling money into this. Those are not grassroots protesters. These are not grassroots signs. These are professionally made signs.
Grassroots signs is literally marker and
cardboard,
poster board,
yeah,
and a stick that you find on the ground. This is professionally made posters, as you can see. They are printed. None of that is handwritten at all. That is all printed out, and there's hundreds of them.
So
ready to be handed out to people.
So 1, these are not grassroots. 2, these are professional protesters and agitators paid for and funded by Qatari, Middle Eastern, foreign money to basically indoctrinate people into these extremist groups. And then you have these professional agitators come in. And these useful idiot kids at the university who are like, yeah, I'm for peace in the Middle East. Well, yeah, that's a really easy position to take. That's the thing. Leftist policies and leftist ideas are always the most easy and peace-loving sounding ideology. It's like the easiest position to take is like, I'm just against war. Okay. Seems like a pretty easy position to take when you're like, what are we fighting for? What are they fighting for? We don't care. We don't want people to die anymore. It's like, okay, that's a really easy position to take. And then you have all these useful idiot kids go in, and you have these professional agitators, like the old lady, like Lisa, what's her name?
Yeah, Lisa. What? I'll find her name.
Vivian.
Yeah, Vivian. Yep, Lisa Vivian.
Who, look like people who are authoritative figures. So heck, people probably thought she was a college professor, and they'll go, "We're gonna go in this building and occupy it," and everyone's like, "Yeah, she's like a professor. She's a teacher here, probably. We'll just follow her. We can't get in trouble." And then all these kids get arrested, and they're like, "I just have to take finals tomorrow," and you have to feel like, look. A lot of people have this whole you get what you deserve thing, but these kids probably don't realize that they're actually doing stuff illegal because you have these professional agitators going, oh, no, this is fine. And then they become permanently indoctrinated into the left-wing organization because the right is sitting there pointing there laughing at them, going, ha-ha, dumb. So they don't feel like they can join. They go, wow, I didn't realize what I was doing was wrong.
Yeah. Well, it comes to a lot of things. Like we need to ask a lot of these people. Like if we've seen a bunch of the videos that come from these particular protests, like people are asking them, "What do you know about? Can you find it on a map? Can you find Palestine on a map?"
Yeah,
and all these questions. And if you don't even know about the first like Israel war between like Egypt and Israel and all the other countries that surrounded, you don't need to be talking about it because no one realizes that right after, and like it was like 1947. They went to war with every country in the Middle East.
Yeah.
The nation of Israel.
Yeah.
And no one realizes that. And you're just like, do you even know about
Well,
this
in
battle?
Egypt, they celebrate the victory like they won.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like Douglas Murray went to Egypt, and they're going, what are you guys celebrating? Well, we're celebrating the war in, the 6-day war that we fought in Israel. It's like, well, and he was like, well, why are you celebrating that? He goes, oh, we won. And Douglas Murray, who's a British commentator and journalist, was like, what are you talking about? You didn't win. And then all the Egyptians are like, we didn't? And he's like, no, Israel still exists. You guys lost.
Yeah.
They had actually one of the most strategic victories ever in that war, but they're taught in Egypt that they won.
Yeah. Yeah, that's absolutely true. Because if Egypt or any of the other Middle Eastern countries had won, Israel would have ceased to existed right there on the spot. There would have been no continuation of the country of Israel.
Yeah. So it's just crazy. It's absolute craziness that the indoctrination that's taught to the people of Israel, the people of Egypt and people in the Middle East. Like I said, they're just indoctrinated to hate the Jewish state from birth.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just wild, folks.
Yeah.
Very wild. So if you want to know what grassroots protests look like, if you want to know what grassroots looks like, it looks like those boys at UNC. Yeah. Those boys at North Carolina who held up the American flag when those pro-Palestinian protesters were taking it down. And they were getting pelted with bottles of water, probably cans of beer, getting liquid thrown on them, getting hit with rocks, holding up the flag. Like, that's a grassroots thing. That's something like people saw something that they didn't like happening, and they just walked up to prevent it and took the punishment for it. They took the punishment for it. Whatever got thrown at them, whatever got held on, they stood there, standing there, holding the flag.
Yep, that is grassroots effort.
They
saw something happening that they didn't like, and they stopped it. They protested it, or whatever you want to call it.
And that's going to be the image of that should be the image of the pro-Palestine movement right there. That's the image that should be seared in everyone's head here in the United States. Is we don't want to bother with that. We're proud of these kids who stood up for America and stood up for the flag. And those pro-Palestinian people go, no, America's the devil. We're going to take this flag down and put our flag up because our flag and our conflict is more important than the United States. I'm with the frat boys on this one. Stand tall. Stand proud of your country. A lot of people fought and died to protect that flag. Protect this country. So, yeah, we've got so this has sparked other counter protests all over the United States. There are frat boys standing up and trying to shut down these pro-Palestinian protests all over the U.S. now, which is good. Pro-America. This is some good stuff. So we're going to play this clip from this
Fox
local
13,
Fox
yeah,
13
local
network
Fox 13
that did a quick little expose on the. This is the protest that happened at Ole Miss. So this is just one of the counter protests, but this is the one that's getting a lot of heat because they were talking about how there was a racial divisiveness. But from watching this video, you won't see any real racial divisiveness. They're just trying to throw that in there to, what's the word, obfuscate or, dip and dodge and be like, see, all these kids are just racists. So whenever you're ready, Chad, you can.
It's already playing.
Okay, why don't you rewind it and we'll.
Soon after, a crowd of hundreds of counter-protesters showed up.
Fox 13's Jack Bilyeu gives us a look at the demonstration there and how it was mostly peaceful.
An Ole Miss spokesperson says there were no arrests and no injuries during this protest, but police had to get involved and break it up when people on both sides threw things at each other.
I've never been part of protests or even seen a protest. When I came out here, I was like, well, it's kind of cool.
The beginning of the end of Ole Miss's Pro Palestine protest was caught on camera. Students on both sides were seen throwing water bottles and food at each other before police sent everyone home. Hours later, the ground was still littered with pieces of bread.
They were throwing the bread and stuff.
Bread
that
wars.
The university gave them.
Bread wars.
So we started throwing it back to them, and that's when things got a little heated.
One student told Fox 13 he was part of the counter-protest and watched the whole situation come apart. In a statement, an Ole Miss spokesperson told Fox 13 it's committed to protecting its students' freedom of speech and that protesters on both sides were given warnings before the demonstration was put to a peaceful end.
You can't take over our campus like the other campuses in the north. This is a southern campus where we believe in God and Jesus, and we don't stand for that.
Mississippi Governor Tate Reeves also weighed in on the situation, writing in a post to Facebook that law enforcement was ready to take action if things got out of hand. He later shared a video of counter-protesters singing the national anthem. Some students who watched the situation play out say they feel the counter-protest was too extreme a response for a group of people who were just trying to speak their minds.
A lot of the people who were in the middle, who the Pro Palestine side, are people I see all the time in my building and my program. It was really hard to see people I know and really appreciate and respect.
That's a useful idiot right there.
Yeah.
With things that don't really make sense.
That's really it. We'll hold off there.
No, go ahead.
Keep going.
I reached out to the Pro Palestine organizers on Instagram, but did not hear back. You can read the
Did
full
not hear
statement
back
from
from them.
Governor Reeves.
Yep.
And
And
on our
now
website,
you can stop it.
Okay.
So you wonder why they didn't hear back from the pro-Palestinian side? Because they don't have a student heading it. They don't have someone they can usher up in front of the cameras and say, hey, you're the person that has to talk about our side of this. They haven't got somebody like that because it was not a grassroots protest. This is an artificially created protest. This is a protest created by, again, money from Qatar, money funded from Islamic extremist organizations in the U.S. to get these kids to come out there. Now, there's a handful of useful idiots out there like that girl that they interviewed on camera going, it just made me sick to see my friends out there. She's a useful idiot. She's like those girls that we showed at the New York universities.
Yes.
Going, what are we protesting for? That's her. Students that just show up because someone told them to. It's like, oh, I was bored on a Friday night. Why not?
Oh, free pizza?
Yeah. Free pizza, free food? Sweet, I'm in. Is it gluten-free? And this is what it looks like. This is what, and again, the media is also portraying this in a very bad light. Like, that's the reason we showed this video from a local news outlet, because the first thing that when I typed in counter protests or, USA protests at college campuses, the first thing that pulled up was a Guardian video. And it said, racist college students incite violence at... In fact, why don't you pull it up? They pull up, counter college protest if you can.
Give me 1 second. I'll pull it up.
And I'm paraphrasing. I'm just trying to call from memory what the first video put up. I can actually check it out on my phone, too. But
Yeah, go right ahead.
either way, the first thing that popped up was something racially charged.
So what did you type in to find it?
Hold on, let me look. Ole Miss Palestine protests.
Ole Miss.
And here it is. Yep, Guardian. Counter-protesters appear to make racist gestures toward pro-Palestinians. That's the video. That's the top video when you search protest at Ole Miss. Because they're trying to make the counter-protesters look bad, because the narrative for the media is we have to make the pro-Palestinian people look good. And there's a ton of people there. Ton of people who are probably pretty uneducated on what's going on too, on both sides. And they're like, this one incident is indicative of the entire thing. It's just all about racism. Because that's the easy selling point. That's an easy thing to throw out there. Anything that has racially charged anything in the headline is going to sell. It's going to fly.
The first two that pop up, I mean, there's ones at the top that are pictures, but the first two articles that pull up on here is NPR. U of Mississippi opens probe over hostile protests that involved racist taunts. And then The Guardian was also the first one. That one, the other one was the NPR one was the second.
Abhorrent counter-protesters.
Abhorrent counter-protesters, you know.
Again, as long as they can throw racism in there, they know that they can make the other side look as bad as possible. And again, both of these journalists, like The Guardian, super left-wing. And if you think that there weren't things being said about people on the other side, again, if you talk about what you can say whatever you want about white people. You can say whatever you want racially about white folks. It doesn't matter because we're not a protected class. But in my opinion, no one should be in a protected class. If you want to be treated equally, we all have to be treated equally. That means insults. Again, that's why the anti-Semitism bill that just got passed in the Senate, it's like, look, I don't like it when people are anti-Semitic against Jewish people, but we live in America. They already had these debates in the 50s going, I may disagree with what you say, but I'll defend to the death your right to say it. Mm-hmm. Which means you're allowed to be, unfortunately, you're allowed to be a racist in America. You're allowed to say hateful things in America. I'm glad we have a right to say things like that in America. I might not appreciate those who say them.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that we live in a free country where we can say those things.
Yeah, if everyone remembers, the ADL actually defended
the neo-Nazis.
The neo-Nazi party to hold a rally in like Indiana or some
back
place.
When that organization had integrity.
Yep. And now, yes, exactly. Now they advocate people.
They advocate for censorship.
Hate speech. Yeah.
They advocate for censorship. They advocate for hate speech laws. I don't want hate speech laws. I'd rather racists openly say how they feel. That way we know who they are and we don't have to associate with them if we don't want to. That's the beauty of a free society. It's like, well, that guy over there, he's an open racist. He hates everyone besides his ethnic group. Cool. I don't think I want to associate with that person. Cool. You have a right to do that. They have a right to say whatever they want to say to you, and you have a right to not have to associate with them. Period. That's what makes this country great. People have the right to believe what they want to believe, and we have a right to not care. So don't be swayed and misled by these headlines that are being put out by these left-wing media outlets going, hey, this is just about racism. It is not. I'm glad that people are counter-protesting these fake, artificial, Middle Eastern-funded protests. I'm glad these guys are coming out and supporting and being pro-America. This is great. This is awesome. Like I said, again, the picture to take isn't from these guys who there might have been one or two people out there that might have said something racially insensitive. But if you don't think the other side could have said something racially insensitive too, you're living in a fantasy world.
This guy in the front right here clapping his hand.
Oh, yeah.
This picture looks like Flounder from
Animal.
Sorry. I just noticed. I just started laughing.
That's awesome, man. There's Pledge Flounder, man. But yeah, I'm glad that this is what grassroots looks like. These frat boys going out there and standing up for America. That's grassroots.
Yes, because they heard about a protest that was organized clearly organized, and they went to go counter-protest. That's grassroots. If you have to organize something for days in advance and have to bring outside forces to come help you, it's not grassroots.
No. Especially not when you have well-made, crafted signs printed off in the hundreds of thousands. Artificial. And again, that's why the women's protests in New York and Washington were not artificial. They weren't grassroots. They had thousands of those pink, lady part P word hats. That's not grassroots.
Yeah.
They had hundreds of thousands of those ready to be handed out at the protest.
Celebrities came to speak. It's not grassroots.
No. Those boys at UNC holding up the American flag, that is taking a stand for the country. That is grassroots. And the rest of these guys coming up there and chanting, and these guys were chanting USA. They were singing songs, Born in the USA, the national anthem. And they were singing We Want Trump. They were chanting that. That's grassroots. That's what I like to see. So I think that's about all we've got for you today. I want to end on a high note. I'm glad coming back from drill weekend, I saw more of this kind of stuff and less of the America bad, America the devil. So I'm glad that we are in a better place right now. It seems that you got all these chauvinistic pro-America people coming out and saying, yeah, more of that. I want more people being proud of this country and less people hating on it. So with that being said, that's about all we've got for you today. This is the Twins with the Owasso Live. It's good to be back from a long drill weekend. I hope you all drive safe out there. God bless.
See you later, everybody.